morning, everybody. Today is September 20th. It is a brisk 56. High 70, I don't know. I'm your host, always a miracle. We got our co-host, Logan Kaplan, and then our guest today, Mr. Stabinsky. All right. So you want to ask a question?
All right. Well, welcome, Mr. Stabinsky. We're happy to have you on this first episode of this new season of the Spartan Update. And we're going to start off with questions. This is your podcast, and we're going to learn all about you today. So starting off, where did you grow up? Well,
I grew up in Marlin, Pennsylvania. It's a small town. We always said there was more dogs in Marlin than there were people. If anyone's ever been to Hershey Park, because people don't really know where that is, but I tell them if you've ever been to Hershey Park, Pennsylvania, I grew up about an hour north of Hershey Park. Or if you're familiar with a larger town, Allentown, Pennsylvania, it's about an hour directly west of Allentown, Pennsylvania. So small town, country setting, no real cities. We're about 2.5 hours northwest of Philadelphia. So that's the closest, other than perhaps Allentown, big city, where I grew up.
what is that like growing up in a small town relative to here, where it's, I guess, a bit of a busier atmosphere?
Yeah.
Completely different. Growing up, I had a normal childhood. Kids do what kids do. Played sports, bicycles, did that kind of thing that everyone, I believe, does growing up. However, when I met my wife and she grew up in New Jersey, I'll never forget coming down here to visit once a month, and there'd be a field. Then I'd come back the next month and there'd be bulldozers getting ready to build a set of condominiums or mega mansions, whatever the case may be. So it was a lot different. There were no stoplights in the town where I grew up.
You were one of like what is it called? Or like the big lands? I don't even know that. You like a lander.
Well, there was a lot of open space where I grew up, and
space.
not a lot of building. Everything was pretty well established as I grew up. So they weren't bulldozing things to build new developments or anything like that. So it was vastly different. Moving here was definitely, I don't want to say a shock, but it definitely was different than what I was used to. I mean, I've been here now for 20 years, and it's home now.
Yeah.
So I've gotten used to the environment here in New Jersey. But yeah, definitely a difference.
I mean, I guess that leads me into our next question, which is what were you like going to high school? Because
like
who
growing
is
up,
that in
yeah.
eighth grade, or not eighth grade, like 10th grade, sitting there? What were you like? Who were your friends? What groups were you in? That type of thing.
Well, when I was in high school, I did what I needed to do. I played baseball. That was my sport that I played when I was in school, when I was your age. Played through I was 18 years old. Friends that I had came from a variety of different backgrounds. Where I grew up, there was pretty much, you had your, as you would hear, I'm sure, your jocks, which are your sports-involved kids. I knew some people from that I played ball. There was your, they called them the radsters back then, the people that now would be into skateboarding or extreme sports. I knew a few people there from classes, but that wasn't my gig. And then you had people who were interested in the music scene. You were into concert shirts. Hair metal was still big back when I was growing up. So Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Skid Row, Guns N' Roses. The kids were really into the music scene. They had their own kind of clique.
For you?
So, me, no. I mean, I listened to that music. I still, to this day, hair metal was a big thing.
You give me like a rock type vibe. I thought you were like one of those like rock star kids with like long mullets or something. I don't know.
No, but I did have one when I was a junior.
You had a mullet?
I did have a mullet. Yes, I did. The hairstyle was popular.
I love mullets.
I did have a mullet. But my mother told me for my senior picture, she said, son, you're not getting your senior picture taken with that mullet. We didn't call it, that's the interesting thing too. They weren't called mullets back then. We just called it long hair. So I'm not sure where the term mullet came from. I mean, maybe it did, but I can honestly say I never heard the term mullet when I was growing up. It was just long hair in the back. And my mother told me no senior picture. So I remember going to the barber, and he said, what are we doing today? And I said, well, my mom said I can't have it. He was there licking his chops like this. He was so happy. He's like, great, I get to get rid of that thing. And I'll never forget, he pulled it into this tight little wad and took the scissor and snipped it right off.
That was the day a part of you died.
Yeah, it was, because I will say that when they talk about phantom limb pains, I told people I used to have phantom mullet pains because I would reach back, wait, where did it go? It's not there anymore. And I would, for about a month or so after that, find myself doing this, and it wasn't there.
Every motor does that. You just gotta feel something that's not there.
I know.
I
It was a part of
swear,
me.
like you just give off such rock vibes, and I'm kind of disappointed.
I know play an instrument. I never learned how to play an instrument.
Oh.
I do have cousins who were really good at musical instruments, played a lot of different instruments, band type instruments, but me, never picked anything up. My immediate family never got into that. Although, interesting enough, now my daughter is going to be playing the clarinet. She went yesterday to pick up a clarinet. She'll be
that woodwind. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's going to start doing the clarinet in school 2 days a week. There'll be lessons. So I'm proud of her, because myself, I am not anything musically inclined. I can listen to it, but I can't play it.
Did you have any siblings growing up? What was it?
I did. Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's 2.5 years younger than myself. We got along good. He's a great guy. I still keep in touch with him. He doesn't live here or back in Pennsylvania where I grew up. He lives in Virginia, and he works for the government. But we actually just spoke the other night. It's one of those things where we'll just call each other up on a whim, usually late at night, and just talk, see how everyone's doing. Yeah. But he's doing quite well.
So, like, since you have like a brother, you guys grow up together, are your personalities alike, or are you guys like completely different?
Completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah, completely different. Yeah. I'm, if I can call it this, extrovert. I like to meet and greet, get out, shake hands, and talk to people. He's more reserved in that regard, like more that people come to him. As far as standards, though, we grew up with the same set of values. So as far as that goes, we're alike and the same. But our paths kind of diverged. Me, I knew what I wanted to do when I graduated high school. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. He wanted to be a writer, but he found himself, he got a degree, but then he realized, and I was in a similar situation, but as a senior in high school, we thought about doing an ROTC program, which is the military training. But since I knew I wanted to be a teacher, I said, the military doesn't have a need for a teacher. When I thought military, when I was your age, military was, a field officer or someone who goes out, rifle in your hand, and fights. Yeah. We were just getting through the Gulf War. The first Gulf War happened in 1991, and I was in 8th grade when that happened. So we still knew of that, but it was one of those things where that's all I knew about military service. So I said, I'm not going to do it because I want to be a teacher. My brother, on the other hand, he felt maybe there was a calling for him. And even though he went to college and got a degree in writing, he actually graduated and enlisted immediately in the military. And he served for 5 years. He did a tour over in Iraq, which they call the sandbox, interestingly enough. So he actually served, and then now he finished his service, and now he works for the government. But our paths I would have never thought of doing that. And then my brother, who again was very smart, but decided, you know what, maybe there was a calling I needed to take, and we kind of went, separately. But like I said, we've come back together. We have core values that are the same. We grew up with the same values. Our parents, loved us and cared for us, and it was a great upbringing.
Fred, you mentioned you wanted to be a teacher. You knew right out of high school. Not everyone knows. I'm sure you asked the teachers around the school. What was it that in high school happened? Did you have a really great mentor, a really great teacher that you're like, I want to do this for the rest of my life?
Yeah, there were 2 instances, and I'll mention Joe Sabaday was a teacher of mine in 5th grade and 8th grade. He was a math teacher, and just the way that he had that presence of presenting, giving us what we needed, and just being that person who cared about us succeeding. I really felt that, in my heart, that he was a great guy. And if I could do that for someone, I'd like to model myself after that. I can still remember staying after school and doing PEMDAS problems. Yeah. And there was a time when I would get PEMDAS problems wrong. I look at that now and think, there was. I've been a professional doing this for 24 years, but there was a time when I would get PEMDAS problems where I go, you got it wrong. You got to do another one. And I would be there trying to get it right. So that was a big thing, the first thing. And then in high school, one of my teachers, maybe they saw it in me and they said, hey, there's someone who's struggling. I know you're free this period. Would you mind sitting and helping them to catch up and get better with their work? And I said, sure, I'd do that. So I remember sitting at the end of the hall with a student, and we would work on whatever they were needing help with. And I thought to myself, someone helped me, and now I'm doing this for someone. I enjoy doing this. I can see in their mannerisms that they're enjoying and learning this. So maybe this is the career choice that I should choose. And that was, those two big things were the impetus for me wanting to say, yeah, I can do this. I want to be a teacher. And I pretty much never looked back.
All right.
So like in that whole like growing up, like knowing what you wanted to do, and like like growing up, obviously, like how do you think the world is today? Like how do you think it's changed?
Well, with the outset of social media,
Mm-hmm.
technology, I think a lot of the interpersonal relationships have been either lost or cut short. I remember growing up, every summer it was you get up early and you'd meet on the field and play ball.
Yeah.
Whatever was popular, was it baseball, wiffle ball? We played that all the time. Football in the fall, basketball in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go by playgrounds with my kids, and I see sometimes, other than smaller kids on the playground, the courts are empty. So you don't see a lot of the neighborhood kids just gathering together and doing like
Building
what we did.
relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, everything
definitely.
is done through the phone or through an app or what have you. So I think that interpersonal relationship has been lost. Will it ever come back? I guess if people were strong enough to say, hey, put that down and let's do it, like we used to in the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Let's just get together, let's have a meet. And I'm sure people do that. I'm not saying that I don't see it or hear of it, but I think that was a big thing, or is a big thing, with why maybe when I look at my childhood and see the things that we did, and then look at maybe kids nowadays,
They're totally
perhaps
different.
your age,
Mhm.
it's definitely different.
With your kids, you have two kids.
Yes.
And how do you plan? Do you plan on giving them smartphones? Do you plan on?
Thank God. Like,
how
I
do
think
you
that's-
plan? No, that's
that's
smart.
good.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, no.
Do you plan on? I don't know. Do you like getting them involved in community activities, and they could be with like friends and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yesterday we were just up at the playground. My son said to me, Dad, one of the boys who lives up the street on the bus, said, hey, I'm going to be at the playground at 5:45. You want to meet me there? So my son says, Dad, I know Juliet, my daughter, is going to get her clarinet. So while they go do that, my wife and her go get the clarinet. Can we go to the playground? Absolutely. So we see him go down the street. We wave. We'll be right behind you. My wife and daughter leave, and then we proceed up to the playground. He gets on the scooter and goes up to the playground, and then we played. They were on the playground. They went to the field.
Yeah.
They climbed across the fence outside in the outfield. There's 54 individual sections of fence. They start at the first one, and by the end, they get all the way up to 54. I should have taken a video of it yesterday, but I was there just following them along.
I kind of want to stop
chatting.
Yeah.
But that kind of thing is great
nice.
to see.
Wait, you
So
said
they
he
don't
said-
need the technology. They know about YouTube. My kids do watch videos on YouTube. They play a game called
Tablet.
Fall Guys on the internet. That's a big one. They saw someone playing that this summer, so they wanted to learn how to play that game, and they're good with it. So they know the technology exists, but they also know that there is a limit. Okay, we still go to the playground. We still spend our time doing activities like that. Not everything revolves around, a screen. And I think also another thing too, I'm not into it, so they don't see myself doing it
Into
either.
yeah,
So
yeah.
as a parent, and perhaps you will, attest to this as well, being where you're at in your life as teenagers, it's not what I say, it's the example that I lead.
Period.
So if I tell my kids, I don't want you doing that, but then they see me doing it,
They're
wait,
gonna do it too.
didn't Dad just say we don't? But Dad's doing it. That's contradictory here. But I don't use the phone for anything other than keeping meetings, phone calls when people need to get in touch with me. I don't use social media. I have no social media presence ever. So when I speak to them, hey, this is how we take care of our afternoons, our lives, looking at things from the perspective of getting with our friends, doing stuff outdoors, enjoying the nature for what it's worth. They don't need to see me on that device, so they know, oh, Dad's into the outdoors. Let's follow his lead. So leading by example is key. The old "do as I say, not as I do" analogy. You got to do as I do if you want them to be raised the right way. In my opinion, do as I do, not I'm going to tell you what to do. You're going to see me do it, and that's how we'll take care of business.
I have a question. It's just a curiosity. Have you ever read any book that has like really changed the way you think about life, or something like that?
Changed the way I think about. I will say this: I'm not a voracious reader at all. My brother, who I said is a writer, still makes fun of me to this day. I tried to get into. He was a big Star Wars fan. And I guess it was probably in the early 90s where a bunch of supplemental books started being released.
Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah, Timothy Zahn, Heir to the
I was just telling you
Empire.
about.
Yeah.
I was telling her about
Really?
because they did a new Star Wars episode today, and it brought back the character from that show. So you should tell him about it, probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm
every
sure he
character in
already
that book.
knows, but I'll probably call him tonight and talk to him, and I'll let him know. Was that Grand Admiral Thrawn?
Yes.
I remember the book when it came out, Heir to the Empire,
Yes,
Last
I've read those,
Command.
yeah,
You
they're
have? Well, I read Heir to the Empire during the summer. And then I started the next book, which I believe was called Last Command.
Yes.
And I never finished it. And that was back in 1997, 98 maybe. So, hey, you ever finish that book? My brother will tell me. I was like, well, I got to get back into it. But it's been since 1998 till I picked it up and never finished it. So I'm not a voracious reader. But there are things that I do read. As far as life-changing, I mean, the Bible has changed my life
Period.
tremendously. I do read the Bible sections every day.
Bible.
But as far as another type of book, I can't really say I'm a reader, but that I'm interested in, and that keeps my attention. So little bit today, a little bit tomorrow. I read this morning before I came into work. That's life-changing.
Something that I find so fascinating about the Bible, and I think it's a proof to a lot of its credibility, is how you have this book and anyone can read it. People who are not big readers, they could read it and understand what it's saying, and you could have people who are very smart, intellectual, college professors who can spend hours and hours and hours on just like 2 paragraphs in it. I've listened to some 2-hour paragraphs just on single sections, and it's incredible. It's really awesome.
It is. I'm gonna keep reading.
Good.
So, like, since you've like been into the Bible, like, I know like I should get into it more. Like, is there like a Bible verse that's really stood out to you? Because you know these kids don't know nothing about this Bible. No, not really. Just
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can recite different sections of scripture, but
In the beginning,
yeah, one that just stands out.
God created
to
the heavens and the earth. There you go. First one.
you. That better be
Second
it,
one.
or you're going to hell. And I promise you that. Is that real?
In the
Is that-
beginning,
is that
that's
what-
how the Bible starts. In the
You
beginning.
mean your Jewish book? I think
Well,
that's two
no.
different
Okay,
things.
so the way it works is you have the 5 books of Moses, and then they have an add-on, which is the New Testament, right?
Yes.
So I believe up to the end of the 5 books,
Yeah.
and then they have the add-on. So, or you have the add-on too, I guess.
Okay.
there's also the Old Testament, the first 5
Well, that's
books.
what we count. That's what we count. The Old Testament is what it is called.
Okay.
So yours Old Testament is simply
Yes.
the first 5 books: Genesis, Exodus,
Get up in
Deuteronomy,
there.
Leviticus, and Numbers.
Mhm.
And then after that, the prophets are part of that, or like Ezekiel, Isaiah, Daniel.
We don't have those. We have some of the Psalms,
Okay.
but we don't do we don't do New Testament.
Okay. Well, I'll lead in with this one. 2 Timothy. It's this is the exact quote from. I prefer the New King James, but all Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, and for instructions in righteousness. So that's all of Scripture, so that the man of God may be complete, thoroughly equipped for every good work. So I look at that verse. That was one of the first ones that I guess learned. Again, 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17, and saying that all Scripture is inspired by God. It's profitable for doctrine, which what it says, for reproof, which is telling you about that, correction. So if you make a mistake, it's there to lead you back on the right path, and instruction, and that the man of God, the woman of God, may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. Our goal is to do good. People don't want to do evil. We're sinful by nature. We are a sinful people, but that's why there's salvation. In my coming to that, I know that I hope can do more good by being a type of person that exudes that than I can being miserable and getting down about things. The world is too full of misery and violence as it is. If we can do things that for us will bring more of that Christ-like light into the world. I think that's what our mission is, at least mine. And then if I can do that on the scale where I am here and show people that this is what I'm about, here's a little bit of that, kind of pass it on. Hopefully when people see that, they realize, oh, maybe there is something good to this. Maybe I don't have to be sad or upset. Life, of course, will take us down those paths. I'm not saying that everything is rosy, as they say, all the time. But, the goal is to try to find the goodness and to continue on with that, get rid of the negativity and try to stay focused on the positive and the good stuff.
Do you believe that part of people...
Period.
Do you believe that part of people, being more depressed, we're having more mental illness, more drug use, more issues with despair in our modern time? Do you think that's a result of a lot of people having a lack of connection and understanding and, involvement in their community and in churches or involvement with God altogether?
I believe so. Yes. 100%.
I don't know. It's just a shame. You see, like my grandparents' generation, they grew up, everyone, they knew, Bible verses, whatever. You ask a lot of kids our age, they don't know.
Yeah.
And
I definitely agree with that.
And it's a shame because I think you did have a value system that was set. What is the value system now that we're promulgating? It's just kind of, you're living off of the fumes of that, where we still have like the general feeling of, oh yeah, we do good and be nice to your neighbor. We still have that general idea, but we don't know where any of it comes from. Which
they're gonna know when they go to hell. I promise you that. Mm-hmm.
But by then it'll be too late.
It's gonna be too late. I promise you that.
But here's something I can challenge both of you with. If you both recognize that, just like I did, someday you'll be a parent. Mm-hmm. You'll have kids. You'll know the way to raise them.
Yeah, they're gonna be at least know.
I mean, I pray at least 2-3 times a day. I did this morning. It takes like 10, 12, 15 minutes. And then I do it at night. And it's a great thing.
Absolutely. I'm proud of both of you on that regard. That's good. It is good to see, and it is refreshing to see people. I had a conversation with a student yesterday in the same regard. It's good to see that people haven't abandoned faith or the belief in God.
Something beyond themselves.
Something beyond themselves. That's a very good way to put it. Something beyond. We're
demons,
here.
Not the demons.
Not the demons. If you go to one of those, what are the Travis Scott concerts, we'll leave those guys.
Guys, please do not go to that Uzi concert. I promise you, your soul's gone. But anyway, continue.
Well, I don't know any of those people you just mentioned. That's any of the modern
Scott, he's the guy. He had like some sort of satanic concert. I don't know, whatever his music is. Yeah, that
really.
And then he started rallying people to like not allow ambulances in to like save people because people were getting stampeded on, and a 14-year-old died.
I promise you, he said this.
He has a McDonald's burger.
He said that. In this concert, you don't even know. He said, you don't even notice, but I'm taking your soul while you're listening to my song, and you don't even know. You heard it about 30 times. I swear.
I won't look him up, but I don't even know who that is.
Don't look him up. Next time you go to McDonald's, So we talked about this a bit. You told me this story once, and I think it would be cool to have on camera and everything. So my question was, what is your most meaningful experience in your 20 years of teaching? I think you told me about one of your students. You were like the best man at his wedding. I'd like to have the full story.
Oh, there. Wow. That sounds nice.
The full story on his name is Scott. As a matter of fact, we just spoke yesterday. He's up in New York fishing right now. The salmon run started. He's a little bit early, but he took 4 days off from his work because he can do that. And he's up in New York now, wherever he's at, fishing for salmon. He'll be up there for the next 4 days. He stays at it's not a hotel, but it's like a gathering where all the people come together, like a big, giant cabin. Mm-hmm. And they have the communal kitchen and whatnot, and they're all fishermen, share stories. So I met Scott. It was my second year of teaching, and I'll try to keep it brief, but I just have all these.
Take your time. No rush.
I still share this day. He's great. I'll never forget. On day one, as you both know, when I walk in, get the roll, let's see who's here, and get the names. And I've always done that.
He's fantastic at it. First day of school, he knew everyone's name, like right away. I was like, how? It was incredible.
So I've always done that my entire career. And I called his name. And he was sitting there in the back, and he was a big kid. He was an offensive tackle. He played on a football team, 6'2", big guy, and that type of body build for a offensive lineman. And he raised his hand. When I called his name, he said, "Yo." And I could still hear that yo and the finger pointing up in the air like this when I called his name. And I said immediately in my mind, okay, I got to watch this guy. He might be a little trickster. I got to keep my eye on him. Well, as the year progresses and he does what he needs to do, he just started kind of opening up to me about things just in his life. Nothing major, just, Mr. Stabinsky, thanks for helping me out. When I had that question the other day that you answered for me, I appreciate that. I just want to let you know. Well, after 2 years, he ended up transferring schools. He moved to another school, so I didn't see him after his sophomore year. As it turns out, within that span, 2 years after he moved, I moved to New Jersey. My wife, Pennsylvania was too slow for her, as I like to say. She was a teacher there, but just wasn't home. She grew up in New Jersey, much more fast-paced. Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania, much slower, rural. So she didn't really like it. So I said, as you know, happy wife, happy life.
Period.
So we moved to New Jersey. And
smart man.
Here I am. Well, as it turned out, of course, my folks still live back in Pennsylvania. So we would go visit them for holidays or things of that nature. Well, I went back to Pennsylvania, and here there's pizza shops all over the place. Mm-hmm. Back where I grew up, there were 3 pizza shops, 3 famous pizza. And that was really what all you had. Well, I went to a pizza shop, grabbed some pizza, and lo and behold, he happens to be there. And he said to me, Mr. Stabinsky. And I remember, it's hard to forget certain people. And I said, Scott, how's it going? He's like, good. I said, what are you up to now? And he said he was going to school and he wanted to thank me again for helping him through the first 2 years of his high school. He said, here's my number. If you're ever around, I'd like to, buy you pizza. I know you got dinner here, but if I ever run into you again, pizza's on me. I said, thanks, appreciate that. And there are just certain times in life where you know that it's just kind of an effort, like, okay, here you go, thanks for everything, but not really meaningful. I got the sense that he really wanted me to get in touch with him about whatever it was. He was really sincere about this offer. So I did. And, we've kind of developed a relationship that has gone much, much deeper. As I said, when he got married, he invited me, he said, I'd like you to be the best man in my wedding. And that was, 5-6 years ago now. And I was. We still keep in touch to this day. He works in the concrete industry. And, as a person who...
In New York?
Yes, actually, I apologize. He works now for another company in New York, but the concrete's been the basic one, but this is a slightly different now. He works for a subsidiary of Toyota.
Have you heard about the stuff with the mafia in the concrete industry in New York?
No, he never. I mean, I've heard of it and all that stuff, but he's never mentioned anything. A lot of his jobs are in different states. He worked in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and now New York. But as far as it goes, he just never finished college. He actually did 2 years, then ran out of money. So when you look at someone like that who is still successful and not that I'm saying I'm rich, but makes more money than I do without a college degree, there is actually stuff for people. You don't have to be, I'll say, the smartest person in the world. You don't have to be top of your class, valedictorian, salutatorian in order to be successful. And I challenge that to kids even here that I see, and that's why I mentioned this story about my buddy, former student who's now a close friend of mine, because he had these different things in his life that he couldn't finish college, ran out of money, things happened, his mother got sick, all these different life things that happened along the way, but he was still able to overcome and be successful, and through things like prayer and reading the word, he's realized that these things are important. But don't count yourself out just because you don't think you're top of the class or you're the smartest person.
Definitely.
Oh, there's someone smarter than me. There's someone who's better at this than me. I'm always going to be playing second fiddle, third, fourth fiddle. You find what it is that you're good at. You find something that you really love to do, that you're passionate about, and you take it for all it's worth. And that's how you, just like me, I found I like teaching. I want to be the best teacher I can be. I can't throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I can't throw a 50-yard touchdown pass, dunk a basketball, drive a race car, or build a rocket ship. But I can be the best math teacher I can for the people like yourselves that I see, and for him and for as many people as I can. And that's why I do what I do.
Lucky for us in America, there are 3 things generally that you have to do in order to be successful. And, you have a house, family, that sort of thing. Graduate high school. Don't have a kid out of wedlock. Don't do drugs. If you do that, you will do extremely well. And then if you want to be in the top 5, top 10%, of the entire country, you got to make sure you're going to work an hour early, stay an hour late, and don't even clock in. And then you get promoted really quickly because people out there want to help you. They want it. They just don't. It's a lot harder when, imagine you're a boss and you see someone, right? And they're staying and they're doing that type of stuff. You're going to want to get and promote them. You're going to want to see them climb the ladder. So I think that's a good piece of it. I really like what you had to say there.
Well, that's how I've done it all these years, and I found it to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can tell anybody else along the way, do it this way. Find something you really love to do. Find something you're good at. And of course, it has to pay the bills. You know, I had an uncle who always said, "Man, I love to fish, but fishing doesn't pay my bills." He was a postal inspector.
Sure don't.
Yeah.
So during the day, that's was his job. He inspected the mail. Then when he got done, then it was time to go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you have to be viable with your
Exactly.
obviously your life choice. But if you love it, do it, take it for all it's worth, you'll be successful. I'm not saying I'm as successful, let's say, as someone who is more well-known like a Bill Gates or an Elon Musk.
Some would argue you're more successful than a lot of those people. I mean, you have a happy family seeming.
Oh,
you have a job. You get decent hours for, you know, working at school. You get summers.
You don't think Elon Musk do? Isn't his kid name like XR?
I think those are just like pseudonym names they give them, so that way they don't like get found out in the public. So they keep their names private. So he like gives them these weird robotic names.
Yeah, my daughter's name is gonna be Patricia, just because it's funny.
Patricia Bland.
Oh,
Oh wait, no, it's not Bland. Never mind. Wait, pause. It wouldn't be Bland.
Kaplan. I'm literally gonna cry. Anyway.
But what you said there was, you know, you basically took the words out of my mouth and finished my sentence for me. So
yeah,
definitely.
All right. So you've been a teacher now for how long?
This is my 24th year.
Ooh, wow. You look good for, like, because most teachers you hear, they're like, oh, I've been working here for 20-something years. They look like they're 60, 70. You could pass for 30-something.
I appreciate that. I try to stay healthy and do things that will keep me looking young. So, yes. But I think also a big part of that, too, and I can't speak for other people, is the environment that I work in. Mm-hmm. Being around people who are young
mm-hmm.
You know.
Getting that little hip.
Yeah.
Look at the little earrings. Yeah, new style.
That's only because, like I said, my daughter had to get a re-piercing this summer, and she said, "Dad, I remember you used to wear them a long time ago." Yeah. Why don't you wear them again, Dad? I said, "For you, honey, I will." So.
You want to ask the last one?
Actually, I want to change it up a little.
All right, go for it.
So I want to ask like a more juicier question. Like high school is filled with drama and chaos. So I really just want to know, like, what's the craziest thing that you saw? I'm gonna say in Ocean.
Oh,
Ocean.
I know his answer to this.
Oh, I don't know, because there have been some things. I don't know if you're thinking the same thing I am.
I was thinking the bathroom one, and the white with they wiped it on the.
Oh,
is that not
that's crazy.
Was it the?
They wiped the crap all over the side of the wall or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't thinking of that one. I try to keep that out of my mind.
Keep it juicier. I want it juicier. Something that like shook the whole school. That caused everybody to be like,
I might have to phone a friend on this one. Let's see. Wow. Something for the whole school.
That everybody was like, wow, this really happened. Like the talk of the town.
Kid with the knife last year. Did that make the list?
I don't remember that. I mean, nothing. I mean, some silly pranks. One year, I remember a bunch of people released crickets in the one bathroom.
Oh, yes.
I guess it was one year they had a water balloon fight up on the bridge.
I think that we should do that. I mean, no.
We should do a water balloon fight. That would be so cool.
I mean, these would be like school-wide things. They used to around Halloween decorate the B hallway. I remember when I first started here, that was a big thing. They would decorate, I guess it was on the clubs or student council, would decorate with streamers in the B hall. And one year the kids came in with silly string. And it was obviously not supposed to have this. And they silly stringed everybody walking through the halls. So after that, I think they stopped decorating the hall. That was going back.
No, we still kind of do it for like this hallways, like for the juniors.
I've seen for different things in the A hall, but this was exclusively the B, as I recall it. And this was a thing that ask Mr. Polano, see if he remembers that. He would have been here.
Did you get sprayed on?
No, because I always taught in the D hallway. So this was only
He knew
by
to
word
avoid
of
it.
Missing out on the fun.
by word of mouth. You hear what happens when other people. You see them walking around with
Silly
orange
string.
silly string all over the place and taking it off and toss it in different parts of the building.
Oh yeah.
So it was, I'm sure, an interesting thing for the custodial staff to take care of.
All I want to say is seniors take notes because this senior year, our senior prank gotta be
But
good.
last year, their senior prank was so boring. They walked down the hallway and just were clapping as a group. That was it. You see that?
They did that like 2 years ago too. It was
That was the most
garbage.
lame senior prank I've seen in my life because the school, they
Garbage.
were going to grill outside. They were going to have a barbecue.
Oh, really?
But that wasn't allowed. You couldn't do that
Mm.
because fires and oh no.
Yeah,
Who
you,
cares?
you
Let it
could have
burn.
someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I wrote down a question. I'd be curious to hear your answer. If you could sit down with anyone in history, dead or alive, who would you want to sit down and have a meal with and dinner?
Jesus Christ! But I know I'm going to see him one day anyway, so
Last
I'll
Supper.
wait till
That's a
until
good
I
one.
get to the marriage feast of the Lamb. But I think just hearing the stories that he would have, like, I want to hear about when you said that to the Pharisees, or when you said this and came back with this comment when they tried to trick you.
We're
Like
gonna do a Stabinsky Jesus podcast coming next year, right?
No,
no,
because
no.
I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I'm the guest today. I could not sit behind what you're both doing, or I see the gentleman over there at this computer screens monitor everything. Me,
Wave Robert.
I'm sure there's an enter button and a space bar on those keyboards, but this is all I'm qualified for doing. I can sit
I'm
here.
sure if you're able to get Jesus as a guest, then you can get someone to do it for you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that
man.
won't
Have you
won't
seen-
happen.
Have you seen South Park? It's like they have Jesus. He's just the guy that lives in the town.
I don't watch a lot of TV, and I never got into it. I had cousins who did, and they made me watch the movie before one of my older cousins got married. But I never got into it. We didn't have that. I guess it was on
It's
Comedy
an
Network.
acquired taste.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Seen what?
South Park.
South Park, like that. I want to say something so bad.
I mean, I
but
know the kids in
know.
it with their adventures, and
They kill Kenny.
there's something about a Loch Ness. A lot of guys I know talk about something with a Loch Ness monster.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
There's something with a Loch Ness monster. It's a famous scene or something from that show, but I don't know much about it.
I want to say it so bad, but I don't
So.
want to get in trouble.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
No,
This was
thank
fun.
you for
I
having me.
enjoyed this. This was very insightful. Are your kids going to be watching this?
I guess I'll have to show them
You
that.
can say hi to them. Say hi.
Oh, hi Julia. Hi Andrew.
They're gonna be like,
Hi honey.
Dad.
Love yous.
Hi, guys.
"Oh, that's cute."
How are you doing?
You're the best.
My mom doesn't love me.
Your mom? Oh,
I'm sure she
that's-
does.
I doubt that.
Have her
No, she
have her
doesn't?
tell you. Tell her first and see what she says. Get her
Uh,
reaction.
She's gonna be like, "Oh,
Yeah, that'll be a segment on the Spartan update. We'll just have always go up to different people. Do you love me? No. It would be funny if
I'd
her mom
cry.
just said no. We get a segment on the Spartan update. Does always mom love her?
I think that would be a really good video. I think that would be a really good video. Thank you for the inspiration. That was a good video.
Thank you. This was
All right.
fun.
No, I had a good time. This was really good.
All
I
right.
was not expecting any of this. I hope it all went really well.
Yeah, well, it'll be fun. All right.
Thank you.
for coming on.
Logan, appreciate that. Always. Thank you very much.
All right.
Everyone have yourselves a wonderful day. It's been a blast.